One excuse I'm tired of hearing lately is that veganism is ableist, because expecting everyone to ditch animal products allegedly ignores the existence of people with eating disorders, health conditions, and so on. So in today's short video, I'm going to tell you why carnism, not veganism, is actually the most ableist belief system in the history of our species. Firstly, I'm not here to play the expert on everyone's living situations. I do absolutely understand that there are many people on this planet for whom being vegan is more of a, shall we say, inconvenience for than others. For me though, the existence of vegans in every possible situation there is proof for me that everyone can be vegan. Nonetheless, let's grant the people who say that veganism is ableist that argument for a minute, and assume that they're actually right. Let's assume that there are many people with disabilities or conditions that genuinely can't be vegan, and that I'm just talking a load of nonsense. Even if this was the case, carnism is still the most ableist position someone can possibly hold. So, why is carnism the most ableist belief system on the planet? Well, ableism, as it happens, far extends beyond physical disability. It actually stems to treating others differently or discriminating against them based on their perceived intellectual capacity. For example, calling someone an idiot nowadays is said to be ableist, because it's demeaning to those who suffer from learning difficulties. Discrimination then, based on IQ, falls under the definition of ableism. See where I'm going with this? You may have sussed it by now. What is the most common reason humans give as to why non-human animals are different from us and deserve to be treated less favourably? What is the key factor that the vast majority of humans, including disabled humans, give to suggest that enslaving and murdering pigs and chickens is just not the same as enslaving and murdering humans? Any of you watching this video now who are vegan yourself will know full well that this was very likely the trait that you once used to justify treading all over the rights of sentient beings back before you were vegan. The thing that made you sleep comfortably at night despite knowing you were paying to stab animals in the throat. I am of course talking about intelligence. Get into an argument with any non-vegan and whenever you mention to them that what we're doing to animals is a holocaust or is murder or, would you do that to a child? They'll always respond with a statement like this. They're not as intelligent as us. Can animals build civilizations? Can turkeys write books or compose symphonies? They don't have our level of self-awareness. They're too dumb to understand what's going on. It's offensive to compare humans to animals. They're not some ones, they're some things. These are all, without exception, ableist arguments. They rely on the idea that it's okay to harm someone, or something, as carnists mostly believe, due to intellectual capacity, notably that it is lower than their own. What makes this form of ableism worse than all the others, however, is the consequences it has for the victims. There is no human victim of ableism whose consequences are anything like what a non-human victim of ableisms are. In our society, we even discriminate based on IQ sometimes for the safety of that person and others around them. For example, if an adult with the IQ of a 2-year-old wanted to become a pilot, they wouldn't be allowed. This isn't to spite them in any way, but rather to protect them and whoever would be flying on the plane. When a pig is a victim of ableism, however, it inevitably results in them being gassed and stabbed in the throat. Even when we take into consideration the most dire possible consequences of ableism towards humans that the people calling veganism ableist fear, which presumably is them starving to death because they can't go vegan, someone dying because they're unable to stab and gas others so that they can't eat their flesh is clearly not morally the same as someone actually being stabbed and gassed to death. The fact is, humans use ableism to victimise other species to such an extent that it results in more non-human animals being murdered worldwide in a single day than all the human victims of genocide in history combined. And it's so socially acceptable that people don't even question it. The level of ableism animals are subjected to is so bad that even mentioning their plight in the same breath as the plight of humans with similar or lower IQ to them is considered offensive and hate speech. I can recall several times now where I've been arguing with non-vegans that what we're doing to animals is a holocaust, and when they've responded by saying, predictably, it's not the same thing, they're not as intelligent as us, I will counter that by saying that, in the Nazi Holocaust in World War II, mentally disabled people and babies were rounded up by the Nazis and murdered, and so, does that make it any less of a Holocaust? And the person I was arguing with said that that was extremely immoral and offensive of me to, quote unquote, equate mentally disabled people with animals. As if that's some kind of insult to be mentioned in the same breath as animals. I mean, what's super frustrating about this is that they realise that ableism is bad because they assign moral value to adults with the IQ of a toddler or to babies who have IQs lower than that of any animal. Yet they then hypocritically shit all over the rights of animals and base it on IQ. And then, as if that wasn't enough, act all offended when animals are even mentioned in the same breath as them. I mean, it's just fucking absurd just how ableist carnism is, and how anyone who is deluded enough to call veganism ableist doesn't realise this. So there we have it. While veganism grants moral value to others, regardless of their intellect, what they've invented, what they've built and what they're able to express, carnism robs others of their rights and indeed their lives based on those very things. In fact, ask anyone who says that it's ableist to expect them to go vegan in their situation if it would be moral for them to kill and eat humans to survive, and they will say it's different and actually use ableist arguments like the ones mentioned previously to justify why it is. That's all for now. I want to say a huge thank you to all of you who have supported me on Patreon so far so that I can make more content and grow this platform. If you're not a member of my Patreon team and you do want to help me make more content, I've left the link in the description. As per usual, don't forget to like and share this video and hit that subscribe button.